I just don't think it likes you right now.
Nice. Because that's on.
Nice. Yo, so heat it up.
Warm it up. Heat it up. Oh, it's steamy in here.
I feel it. Episode 30. This is the big 30.
Oh,
Oof.
man.
30 is Pertty.
Nice. It is
You feel that?
I like that. That was good.
Pertty.
Better than 30 is dirty, right?
That is true. Yeah. You don't want no dirty 30. You want the Pertty 30.
Yeah.
I never heard the Pertty 30, but I like it. We try to make that as a trend.
Yeah. Well, new word in the Hoop Lab.
New phrase.
Yeah.
Real quick, if you guys are watching us on YouTube and you kind of just see us like staring at you or spacing out, it's because we kind of got caught in watching some March Madness games.
Games are on.
Always gotta watch.
And it's in the background, and we're watching while we're talking. So if you hear like a big pause and it's just silence,
it's not your app.
Don't adjust the volume.
Yeah, it's just us.
Oh man, episode 30. We are here. We got a special guest with us today. Mm-hmm. Yes, Miss Kristina Donza.
What's up? What's up?
The crowd goes loud.
The live studio audience. That's where we'll drop in the claps.
Gotcha.
Except we're not advanced that far in technology, so it'll just be us saying.
We'll get there one day.
Pretending. Welcome, Kristina Donza from Jackson Memorial in New Jersey.
The legend.
And Slippery Rock in PA, college basketball. Joining us today, chiming in with whatever she wants to chime in on and whatever questions we have for her. And somewhere in there, I'm sure she'll tell us how wonderful we are.
Always. Best people around.
Yes, and that is unpaid.
Yes, unpaid.
Unpaid. Very unpaid. Very unpaid.
Oh,
just
man.
a little bit under the table.
Yeah. Oh, man. So let's start out with the week. What's the good goings on the week?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, we just said it. We got the March Madness. The craziness is on.
Yeah.
This is like our second Christmas.
Yeah.
For all the basketball nuts. But, we finished. What did we do this past Saturday? I went to New York. I was supposed to meet you there to watch a state championship New York game.
Didn't happen.
Danielle Williamson, I know we talked about her, but they did repeat back-to-back for their state championship, and now they're on to Federation, which is basically all the state championships within the New York area, all and go compete for one solidified champion, just like how New Jersey did it with the TOC.
Used to do
but that was cool. I know you got hung up, but it's all right.
Yep. I was doing some media stuff. We'll call it that.
Yep.
Took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but it was cool. We got it done.
Awesome. You had a good turnout for that.
Yeah, it was. But I'm still working on, putting that all together. So
that's gonna be fire.
Yes, hopefully it spurs some good stuff here too. We got to find some interns.
Yeah. So that is
paid or unpaid.
Under the table.
Under the table. Okay.
Oh man. So that was that part. What else did we have? By the time you're hearing this, my daughter's Kent State made the WNIT. And just that quick, by the time you're hearing this, they were bounced from the WNIT.
Bummer.
That's a bummer, but
who'd they lose to?
Syracuse.
So Orange.
ACC. So, it happens, but
maybe like that.
Yeah.
No, that's cool because not a lot of teams, make it to the tournament.
No,
or the
they
NIT,
sure don't.
So that's huge.
Yeah. No, so
stepping stone.
Shout out to Kent State and
the big ass lightning bolts, as Scott Van Pelt would say.
Yeah, but the men are still in there, so
yeah.
Let's see what the men can do in the tourney. So
I like their chances.
I like their team. They're actually like really, they're
put together
feisty.
Feisty. I like that.
Yeah.
Like just gritty.
Ew. Oh man.
But yes, I guess that's about it.
Kris,
What
what
do you
about
got?
your week?
I mean, had a chance spring break right now, so been able to come home. Haven't been home since Christmas break, and basketball players know that's not very long.
Yeah.
so
Have you
it's-
ever been to a spring break with snow flurries?
Being in Slippery Rock now, I have.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right. That makes
Shout out
sense.
Slippery Rock, love that place. But yeah, it's been good. Just been home hanging out with the fam. Been back now in Hoop
Dope.
Lab. It's been about literally a year now, I would say, since I've been back here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, just been chilling at home, vibing with the fam and the animals, and it's been good. And
That's
I go
tough.
back on Sunday. So
That's tough.
Oh wow.
And Dad had a big birthday.
Dad did have a big birthday,
So
had a big
shout that
party.
out. Come on.
Yep.
I shouldn't have to tell you that.
Dad turned the big 7-0 February 26th. So now we had a big little party for him on Saturday. Had some
Yes.
surprise guests show up, and it was a really
Yes.
fun time. It was
Nice.
cool
Yes.
having everyone together.
Dope.
The Pertty 70.
The Birdie 70.
No,
Wow,
that's
that's
cool.
awesome.
That's cool.
So how is your experience going over at Slippery Rock? Tell us a little about that for us that don't know, for the listeners.
Yeah, so for you guys that don't know me, I transferred from the Naval Academy, so it was a long process for me transferring to then now go to Slippery Rock, going from the Division I level to the Division II level. But Slippery Rock's been awesome. I found a major that really makes me happy. I'm a physical activity and fitness management major, so now pursuing and getting my MBA for my master's, and then opening up a gym and probably targeting it towards like veterans with disabilities. That's kind of going to be the main focus of that. So anybody
tough.
knows anybody of that, then hit my line. But yeah, no, Slippery Rock's great. It's a pretty medium-sized college, I would say, middle of practically nowhere. But if you know completely the western side of PA, you'd be used to that. But yeah, it's been a really awesome experience, and I'm actually really glad that I made that transfer.
That's awesome.
That's great.
I do have a question in regards to that.
What's up?
For anybody, so we have a lot of like basketball parents, a lot of basketball kids, young athletes that listen. How would you describe, since you've had experience at the Division I level and now the Division II level, how would you describe the two, and how would you compare? Like, how would you compare them?
Well, I would say both levels are very rigorous. Of course, you're going to have to put work in. You're going to have players that, are going to excel, and you're going to have players that, you could probably easily play against. But I think the biggest difference is the big time commitment with Division I and Division II. Division I, you get pretty much no summer. You get pretty much, it's also different being at the Naval Academy, but it takes up a majority of your life. And even, the Division II and Division III level, it still takes up a lot of your life, but it's something that's not as much of a job per se than
Okay.
it is more. Technically you do get paid if you're on scholarship, so it is kind of your job, but like it's more fun in the sense of it's not just work all the time.
Yeah, I like how you phrase that, because not a lot of people. In today's age now, players can actually get money, right? They can get paid, but I think a lot of people didn't see that back then when they would get a full ride scholarship. And you are getting paid to play, right? Like you're getting your education paid for, you're getting your your living, all the food. I remember playing. You'd get money for road trips and all that. So
Yeah, stipends.
Yeah.
Yep. And no, I like how you said that, because for those that even don't make it to the Division I or get to the Division II and they still get a full ride, it's still. You look at that part where you're not in debt when you get out of college.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's cool. Appreciate
So how did you find Slippery Rock?
Oof, that was honestly, Slippery Rock found me. I don't even know how that happened, but Coach McGraw.
You slipped on a rock?
I did slip on a rock, actually.
Wait,
that's
I
had to throw that out there.
That's actually why I had to get surgery on my ankle. He
There it
just
is.
exposed me.
Wait, hold on. So there's a hot topic, and you've had experience with it, right? Mm-hmm. So you already know where I'm going with it. The hot topic
Yes.
would be the transfer portal.
Yes.
I did a post, and of course, by the time they hear this will be old. But I did a post a couple days ago, and on the men's side, in 48 hours, the Division I and Division II players in the transfer portal was upwards of 805 players. like literally 24 hours later, that grew to above 950. Explain or give a little bit about your experience having to enter the transfer portal and what that's like.
So the transfer portal is pretty much just going through recruitment part 2. Like, it's pretty much the same exact thing of when you're in high school trying to get, recruited the first time around. But the one thing that I would say that makes it more difficult is it does depend on more of your college playing experience than it does your high school playing experience. Some coaches do focus on how you did, obviously, your senior year. But if you go, say, I played at the Naval Academy, I started a bunch of games, so it was kind of easier for me to get looks with different schools. But say, you don't play at all, and then you're looking to transfer, I'm not going to lie, you probably don't have a big shot in getting anywhere remotely that could make you happy or get any money or, really show who you are as a player. But honestly, if you've been through the recruiting process or know people through the recruiting process, it's pretty much the exact same thing.
Now, did any of your coaches at the Naval Academy help you in any way or reach out to other coaches? Oh, yeah,
100%. I mean, Coach Jimmy at the Naval Academy, he's awesome. And actually, Coach McGraw, rest in peace, who was the former coach at Slippery Rock, they were buddies and knew each other really well. So it ended up helping me.
Nice. Yeah, and that's the big thing, especially like, college and high school. Like all these coaches talk, right? They all know each other. Yeah. They all have connections through all these little pipelines. And, I think that's a big thing. Like, if you are on the same page, you are looking to transfer, you have people in your corner that will reach out and help you in any way. It's sad that, maybe they wanted you to stay, but in your best interest, they always are looking out for you. And some of them don't, but, the majority of them, they'll take time and reach out and, they'll help out. So.
Yeah. And to that point, I don't think enough attention goes to the fact of how you should almost treat it as almost like a networking opportunity, right? So even and this is a tip for high school kids and college kids as well, like even as you're going through the recruiting process, you should meet and greet as many coaches with the respect that you'd want in return, right? So even if it's not a school that you plan on going to, like just giving them the attention and treating them with their respect goes a long way. Right. Like you said, a lot of the coaches talk to each other. There's a lot of, I guess, transition at the college level. This coach leaves this school to go to this school. So you never know, who knows who and where they might wind up. So though it may not be the ideal school for where you want to go, you never know who that coach's best friend is or who they know at the other colleges that might be able to give you, a good word. Like, hey, I know this kid, very under the radar, maybe just want to give him a look. Yep. Those kind of things you don't want to bypass. So make sure that you're just giving the respect to all the coaches that you speak to, no matter what level they are on. Because they all, like you said, they all talk to each other.
And the big one is like you don't know their next step, right, or their next journey, because they might be at a mid-major and then they might get a coaching job at a Big East school or a Power 5, whatever it is, and it could go lower. But that just having that connection and being respectful, staying in touch, treating every if you're doing a unofficial visit, treating every visit like, all right, this is a very, very big possibility, even though it might not be, but just going into it like that, with that mindset, it will go a long way, because if something happens down the line, they'll always be there and they'll remember you for those things.
Yep. Absolutely. No, that's good stuff. What do you think? You want to jump into the topic?
Yeah, sure. I think this is a good one, since we have a player here that we could talk about. But I want to kind of dive into why bubble training or checklist training, which we do, is different, or versus bubble training versus regular training, more of like, game training, cone training. I call it conditioning training with a basketball. And I know, you need both, but I want to just talk about the differences and really go in depth. Why bubble training, why checklist training is more beneficial, and how it can help players in the long run.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
So bubble training. Let's talk about this. Now there's we have a checklist over 700 skills and methods that we go through every week. Now we pick 2 to 3 skills.
Well, not 700 skills a week.
Yeah, not a week, but we pick 2 to 3 skills that we try to master throughout the week, right?
Yeah.
We try to give every player that comes in we try to give them all 700. Is it possible? Not really. I think the one person that's gotten close was in our training organization was Victor Oladipo, and I think he completed like somewhere around like 600. But he spent a lot of time. And with checklist training or bubble training, rather than always moving forward or staying on the same topic, because let's say that you're doing drops and you simply can't do a drop, and so the next day you come back and you do a drop and you can't get it, and then the next day you do a drop, and then the next day you do a drop. So you're sticking on these things where you're not getting it or it's not clicking. It might take you a month, but even within that month you still may not get it, and then you've wasted a month where you could be getting athletic traits. You're wasting a month where you could do more footwork, finishing, any type of shooting drill that you could be doing. So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on, just your insights on bubble training, what you've experienced with G, and then we'll talk. We'll ask Kris here the same thing and kind of just see what her experience is like.
Yeah. So before I came across skills training, I was kind of like I was that coach that was kind of stuck in that bubble training. Right, so I was kind of in that mentality that, they don't have a right-hand layup, or they don't have the footwork for the right-hand layup, so we've got to get this right-hand layup down before
we move on.
Yeah. Right, so I can tell you directly, like, that's a very, very, very slow process, because you're limiting the access that each player can have to all of the different skills that are out there. But since finding the I'm Possible training methods, it's been a joy to work with, because, and I'm sure that you'll talk about it a little bit too, but you kind of realize that as you're working on one skill, there's so many different traits in that one skill that a player might have to unlock. So if you move on to the next skill, again, you have so many different traits and characteristics that a player needs to unlock, but they might unlock something that was for the previous skill that we were after. Right. So if you continue to move on, there's certain things that players are able to unlock that will help them kind of gain or build on the previous skill that we may have worked on the previous week. And I think that's the beauty of it. The whole thing is, like, we can continue to go and grab as many of these skills and hopefully gain some of the access to the other ones while not staying in one spot. And it just goes a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a parent this week, and we were doing cross drags last week. And she said that her son actually, got low, like he touched the med ball and he crossed. And then the kid jumped at him, and then all of a sudden he reacted with a spin move, and then the kid fell, right? So it's like...
It's tough.
Yeah. And, dude, when's the last time we ever worked on spins? Like, it's been...
No, we haven't. It's been a minute.
Maybe 4 or 5 months, right? So that's the beauty of it. Once you start unlocking and you start going down to different avenues or different skills that you've maybe never even seen or touched before, you start unlocking different skills that you've never even knew that you had.
Yeah. And
then you start making your own recipe, or you start doing your own skill stacks, like a cross drag into a spin. Like when we did cross drags, we didn't add a spin to it.
No, we didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of people just see us as more of our training more of like just different. Let's see how many different combinations we can do. Let's try to get like the most freestyle-ish player.
Yeah.
But in reality, we're overloading them with skills, and then they have the opportunity to use and pick whatever skills they want. They
Absolutely.
can use 2 to 3. Now, do some of them go overboard? For sure, but that's not on us. Like, we're doing our part, giving the kids the skills, and then letting them venture off and letting them, use them to their own liking.
Yep.
But so Kris, I mean, you've trained with Garry. I don't even know how long, for a couple years.
Wait,
we started when you were a freshman in high school, right?
It's been
So
it's like
do the math on that.
Math for 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
So as a freshman, what was your kind of like? Do you remember your first session with Garry? She's already laughing. I'm gonna stop right there because I feel like a story's coming.
I remember how I felt. I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy. I was like, I think I might have cried too. I think I actually got so upset. I was like, I couldn't do it. What is going on? I was so mad because I was like, why am I not getting these drills right? It was just so brand new. But then like once I really understood, I was like, all right, like these are actually kind of cool. And then when you obviously watch like college and as a freshman in high school, you watch college and NBA and you see these moves going on in the games, you're like, oh shoot, like I can do that too. Like, why not? So like the first time was terrifying. Like I was so scared. I was crying. I was like, Garry, I can't do this. Why am I here? Like,
but that was like almost like the intention, right? So we kind of talked about it on how like we kind of say it all the time. It's like, we want you to understand like how bad of a basketball player you are. So you have like so much understanding of there's really room for me to grow as a player. But I confirm you definitely did tear up.
And that's the cool part that you said, you watching college or the NBA as a freshman, you going through maybe different sets of footwork or different finishing, and we're labeling it, but you watching it and you can start to see, oh wow, they just hit a drop through. Right? Or, oh, wow, they just did a side hand finish. Like, then that starts to register. Now, you're not just watching the game, as more of like a fan. You're watching it as more of like, you're dissecting players and you're trying to see what they have, and then you can label it and you're like, oh, okay, now I understand. Right? Mm-hmm. So it might have been in a different spot, a different area. It could have been at the low post. It could have been at the high post, wherever it is. And you might have just did it on the wing. But now you can see it in different spots in different areas, and now your brain starts to think like, oh, okay, so maybe, so now I can do that here, right? Yeah. Or it's just like a little slightly different, but I know how to attack that or work on it. And I think that's the coolest part, especially, with us starting to find and label all these different sets of footwork, hand placements on the ball, different techniques. And for us, we always tell the players, you don't have to worry about it as much as we do, because these are the things that we want to be able to get you to master. But if you as a player can start, oh, okay, this is a drop or this is a split through, you can start understanding what the terms are. Now you as a player have more to add on to your workouts, which is gonna bleed over to the game, right? So that's really cool that you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, Kris, but like, there were times it had to be like probably like somewhere after sophomore year, but I'd come to you and I'd say to you, hey, did you see what you did there? And then you would have like no idea exactly what you did.
Yeah.
But the point of that is that at some point you felt like free in the creativity, and the instinct just took over after you had gained certain number of skills. Do you feel that way? Like sometimes looking back, some of the instinct just took over and you just did whatever came at that moment? How does that, like, do you remember that at all?
I mean, going even like as soon as you said that, like I was thinking about like exactly what you just said. Was I would go back, even now I would go back and like watch high school film from like junior, senior year, and I'd be like, I didn't even know I did a drop in that moment. Like, I didn't even know I did like a drag in that moment, but it just happened. And it's like doing more and more training with you, it was like everything was pretty much second nature. And it was like I reacted more instead of just like, all right, let me just do a crossover. You know, let me just do it between the legs, like the basic fundamentals.
Or just use your athleticism and try to race the other girls to the basket, or I say like beef them to the basket. Use your body or athleticism,
and even just like variations of different moves where it's like like hesitations, like like drop, like things like that. It's like you realize it and you use it in the game, and it's like, wow, like I use that in like the perfect moment when this girl is running right next to me, and then I pause and she falls to the floor, like things like that. So yeah, I 100% remember looking back, and I even remember our talks after games too, and you'd be like, did you see what you did there? And I'd be like, no, what'd I do?
Yeah. Well,
there was other times like where you'd come back and you're like, could you believe I did this and the ref called this a travel?
Oh my gosh. I remember the one time I literally like did a pocket dribble and he called it a carry, and I was like, I remember looking at you and I was like, there's no way you really just called that a carry.
No.
They're like, they just don't know. They just don't know.
I do remember that. That's funny.
And that's like kind of the sad thing, right? Because like obviously I think even though there is like a shortage in refs, but a lot of refs are not up to date in today's game, right? So you have more leeway with your hand placement on the ball than you did, in the 1990s and the older years. And you can kind of think Allen Iverson to that, with his patented drop cross,
Yep.
It's I think a lot of the refs maybe need to get maybe an updated course on some things, but you're right.
Or just come into Hoop Lab and we'll show you.
I agree.
No, that's awesome. So
wait, before you go on, I have one more question. So we had a player come in, and one of the things that they were talking about was, and ironically they hadn't done much of our training. This was kind of like after, but it was like, my coach wants me to do this with my feet, and I just don't know how. And when she said that, I immediately thought, like, all of the things that we're teaching you, we're not teaching you to make you a certain type of player. We're teaching you so that wherever or whatever situation or scenario you're in, you have the skill to kind of fit whatever it is that coach may need. And I think in this specific instance, the coach was looking for this player to do a step in with their left foot. For some reason, they wanted it to be the left foot all the time, and this player just could not get that down. Is there any instances that you can think of where the coach may have been looking for something specific, not necessarily with your feet or whatever, but the training may have helped in that aspect?
Yeah, and I mean, even specifically to that, like, remember when I, like, first came, and I think you were telling me, like, do a 1-2, because I would hop into my shot.
Yeah.
And I would be like, why am I doing a 1-2? Like, I couldn't do it, because then I would have a coach be like, you need to hop into your shot. What are you doing? But then, as I would practice, I finally kind of got out of the mindset of, okay, do the 1-2, but also work on the hop as well. Because it's not you changing what the type of player you are and how you're playing or how you're going to shoot it. It's like, now you have different situations. So now when I go to do a pull-up, I don't have time to hop. I can do a 1-2.
Yeah.
Or if I'm catching and shooting, it might be quicker for me to hop than do a 1-2.
Right.
So it's like, I think also nowadays coaches try to change a lot of who their players are. And
to fit their system.
Yeah, it's exactly, to fit their system. And I think, like, training now, like what you guys have been doing, is more, I think people need to understand, like, adding to the repertoire instead of, like, changing who the player is. If that, like, makes sense.
Well, there was a podcast, that I listened to, and they just released it about, there's a lot of people saying subtraction by addition, right? So what we do is we don't take anything away. We just add, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of coaches want you to take stuff away and only do, either what they only know as a player, or, like you said, that only fits their system, right? So, you only hopping, that's great, but let's add a speed stop 1-2, right? Let's add a left-right. Let's add a right-left. You're not gonna ever lose that hop because that is what your, like, kind of go-to is. But the beauty of it is like, you start doing a speed stop or a 1-2, you might now have a new favorite, right? And then you start doing that more, but you don't lose the hop, right? So we're not taking anything away when we do our skills. And I remember, in the summer, we would do, we always like to tell our kids to be skillative, right? That's a word that we creative. I said creative.
Yeah.
Created. Meaning we want you to do this script, okay? But once you get out of the script, you just do whatever you want. You kind of let those skills and that creativity come to life. But now, if they're kind of stuck, one, that just simply means they're not as skilled as maybe their parents or their coaches thought they were, or that player thought they were. But if they just keep doing like, an under drag, and then they do another under drag, and then they do another, we'll take that away just for that session. So then we want to see what else they have.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have anything else, that's a message or a flag that's like, maybe I need to add more skills.
Yeah.
But how many coaches always tell you, right hand, left foot, overhand layups, underhand layups are bad, right to right. Like,
I've had the whole thing.
You've had it all.
You had to finish all the way on the outside. You have to finish underhand. You have to finish overhand.
Yeah. And it's so hard, right? Because the game isn't scripted, right? It's a very unscripted environment where you have to be able to make quick reactions, quick reads, and pull out all those necessary skills that you have within those moments. And if you're telling a player only do a jump stop or only do a left foot right hand layup, that's where charges are going to happen. That's where turnovers are going to happen because they're ingrained. I only got to do this to please the coach, but if I would have just jumped a little bit sooner off my right foot, I would have made him my layup.
Yeah.
For you to just kind of testify on that too, because again, I know there's a lot still out there that still say that. I think that's a message that needs to get out to all the players and hopefully some coaches that it's okay to be very, very skilled, and the game is not scripted.
Yeah. I also think another thing too is like players, and even myself, like I went through it. A coach wants you to be a certain way or, fit their system, like you said, and then you kind of stop doing all the other skills you've been working on.
Right.
And then you pretty much change into a whole different player now, and you're not the player that you either were planning on being or was once. And I would say like my biggest advice too is you're going to have coaches, kind of like up your butt, like wanting you to do different things, but don't ever stop the training that you've been doing. That's going to help you continue to expand like your skill set, because then say you end up getting a new coach or say, you end up doing a different route with your practices or games, then you're going to be stuck and you're going to either just be now a shooter or you're just going to be a driver or you're only going to use your right hand, like things like that.
Yeah.
That's a huge message. I'm so glad that, a player said that because no, you're right on. And we've had this talk many, many times with a lot of people on podcasts. We are trying to prepare the player for any system, right? But when a coach tells you don't work on your game, again, they're saying that for their benefit, right? Because obviously coaches need to win. They need to win to keep their job. But so even just kind of go back to your first, when you decided to go to the Naval Academy, right? Now, again, I don't know this, but usually when players go to Division I, they still have that thought in their mind that they could go pro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So all your hard work, everything that you've done to get to that Division I, and then you still want to expand on your game because, again, that thought lingers. And then you're told not to, and I'm not saying the Naval Academy did this, but a lot of other players, a lot of coaches do this. But when they say don't do this because it's not going to help our team win, right? You as an individual, you're killing my dream. Right, you're taking away my dream. Yeah, I wanted to make it to college. I made it to college. I still have very high aspirations to make it to a professional league, right? But you take that dream away, I can't work out anymore. Now what am I supposed to look for?
Yeah. And I mean, Garry can testify too. Like when I first got to the academy, like the amount of phone calls I had crying with you that I was like, this is not who I am. This is not how I'm playing. Because like it did happen to me, like no lie. And there's no hate to the academy. I loved every single second that I was playing there. I really did. But anyone that knows who I am and knows who I played in high school, I wasn't just a shooter. I wasn't just a driver. Like I did everything. And like, that's what, Garry and I worked on all these years. And then when I got there, it was, you're only a shooter, work on your shot, perfect your shot. And then you can only shoot this specific range.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd be pulling it from 27 feet out because why not? And, now like I couldn't do that. And then I couldn't pull up really. I could only just shoot threes. And a lot of the skill set that I had coming from here, coming from other trainings and stuff, went away because I was like, all right, I got to make the coach happy. I got to, so I can get playing time.
Right.
I got to be like the best shooter I can be.
Yeah.
And it completely changed everything. So then now when I transferred and now I have a lot more expectations where, I have to be that player where I once was.
More freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got to get back to that skill set and get back to the repertoire that I once had and get all those like secondhand nature back into my game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And you're like kind of, you kind of feel like you're missing out, or you like you missed it. You're just kind of starting back, right? Even though the skills you won't lose, they definitely need a little touch
Refresher.
up,
Refinement,
right? Yeah. No, it's huge because I know when you get first recruited, those coaches, those scouts are going to tell you everything they want you to hear, right? And then you get there, and again. This is where the transfer portal comes in, right? Where it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And, you could do some adversity, right? You could handle it. But if you're getting constant things taken away, that's when the transfer portal will be helpful in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have anything to add on that?
No, I think that's the biggest thing, and I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad Kris is here to kind of like give that player perspective. From the high school to the college level, and just the mindset that goes behind that. So no, you said all the right things.
Nice. There's also one more thing I do want to add. This is kind of a little bit off of like the subject of the bubble training versus regular training, but
you got to say sidebar.
Sidebar, sorry. Sidebar.
That's what we say.
I'm up on the lingo now. But when you are recruiting, especially like your high schoolers, you do not need to go D1 to succeed. And 100% that was my mindset when I was getting recruited. It was D1 or bust for me. And in all reality, just be grateful you even get a chance to play in the college level, because there is plenty of D3 schools that could beat plenty of D1 schools, and there's plenty of D2 schools that could beat D1 schools. And for people focusing on, my daughter or my son needs to make it to the Division I level to, succeed, that's not true at all, because there's plenty All-Americans, there's plenty of overseas players that have played at the Division II and over like Division III level.
Yeah.
And, that's my goal now, playing the Division II level. I'm trying to get an overseas contract. And, that's in God's hands, whether that happens or not. But also, I kind of wish that I had the mindset of just, go wherever you're going to have the chance to play and be happy, because then I wish I never had to go through the portal. And I think that's why a lot of athletes fail and they end up, going through the portal, because a lot of like kids have that mindset of, I got to play at the highest level possible.
Yeah.
And that's really not what's important at the same time.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same message that we've been saying. So for you to say it again,
I promise I'm not paid. I promise.
No.
Hey, here's another 20.
I got you.
No, I mean, like we've constantly said that message, and again, that was just all you, right?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that off mic, but we always say, the high schoolers want that. Whether you call it credibility, they want to be that hometown hero to get that big name school.
Yep.
Right? And when in reality, and again, this might have not been your situation, I'm just talking about players in general, if they would have went smaller, they would have had, all 4 years there. They would have made a great career. They would have, maybe balled out 2 years and then, got a call from a higher up, and then they're starting, that's happened before. But what I'm basically trying to say is everyone's got a different path, right? Everybody just wants that straight path, high school, Division I, pro.
Yeah.
But you look at, again, perfect time right now, March Madness, right? Anybody can be beaten. A number one seed doesn't always make it and win national championship.
Yeah.
There's players that get that get undrafted that end up making a really great career in the NBA, in the WNBA. There's players that only go overseas and make a killing. We have a player that was kind of fiddling with the NBA, but he's making a great career and a living overseas, playing over there, and he loves it. He met his wife. He's living his life over there, and he was on that Cinderella NCAA March Madness that made it to the Final Four, who wasn't at a big high level college. So, with you saying that, it just goes to show that, everyone has a different path. And, if you constantly believe in yourself and you put in that work, all good things are going to happen no matter where you are.
Yeah. Also, with the key point of believing in yourself, do not fall into the hype. Literally do not fall into the hype when it comes to, as you said, like hometown hero type of because that was obviously in the back of my head. Like, I want people to praise me for sure. Like, I still go back to Jackson and people are like, oh my gosh, that's Kristina Donza. Like, yeah, it feels nice. But like,
I said that when I walked in. Yeah,
I know. It felt good. But, just remember, like, the people that truly care about you and truly are going to support you aren't going to care if you're at the Division I level or at the Division III level. Or even if you're at a JUCO. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, like, don't fall into, oh my gosh, these people are saying that I won't succeed if I do not make it to UConn. Because in reality, you probably will not make it to UConn. Like, unless you're a star. And, amen to you if you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But don't fall into, I need to do this, I need to do that to make other people happy. Do what makes you happy, because it's your life and nobody else's.
Absolutely.
And I'll add one more thing to that. And here's where it gets tricky, and you have to understand, and going back to your point of, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to be a little bit selfish and understand what you want. Yes, delusional. And understand what you want, because you have to understand coaches, trainers, parents, a lot of the people in your immediate circle, they want that same status or recognition that others are looking for, right? So they are going to push you towards that higher level, big name school because it looks great on them. So don't fall into the hype of them, kind of deciding for you. Make sure that it's fitting exactly what you want, exactly what you need, so that you're not falling in that trap.
Yeah.
No, and I started at a JUCO for half a year. Wasn't the right pick for me, but just in my mind, I'm like, hey, let's go and basically try to beef my resume. I had a great college that wanted me, but I just felt like everybody and there wasn't a lot of great basketball players out of my high school, but they all went to this college, and I'm like, dude, I just don't want to be the same.
Yeah.
Right. They're the NAIA national champions like almost every year. And I just like, I don't know, like, I just don't want to be that. So let's go to a JUCO and let's try to find something else. Now, JUCO, it helped me, but I had a horrible time. Because again, like, you go to a JUCO, everyone's after the same goal, right? They need to get out. So it's almost like an exposure camp type thing. But down the line, you start understanding more of your teammates. You start getting chemistry. Things start kind of working out that way. But after that year, I went to a smaller school, and like you said, I got freedom. Like, you basically got the keys to the car, right? You got to do what you wanted to do. And the coach saw how skilled, I was, and how I could help the other players. And like, it was so fun, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't that big time school. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't go to that big time school, because I don't know how much fun college basketball would have been for me.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But man, Kris out here just dishing dimes.
Dishing dimes.
Oh my god!
Make sure you pick them up.
It's a big sidebar right there.
we have a guest watching the game, and one player just took a really bad shot, right?
Yeah, he had 27 seconds.
Oh man, that's
funny. To switch gears a little bit, we wanted to talk about one of the requests that we've been getting a lot lately. That we always seem to get, but we wanted to kind of address it and kind of talk about, our thought process and understanding of it. So one of the things that we've been getting, and one of the things that kind of the mindset of parents a lot of days is, I need to train with someone that's the same age.
Same age, yeah.
So if you're a high school kid, all the time we'll get, oh, is there going to be other high school kids there? Or is there going to be a kid that's, as good as I am?
Right. Or I need my youngest son to train with older people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's a big one too.
Absolutely.
And again, we're talking about training, not playing.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Obviously, younger. If you the younger you are, you play up. Yeah, there's benefits that you will get better. Right. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, when it comes to training, I just think, and I think Kris being here too, because she's been in your sessions. We get that a lot. I need my teenager to be with other teenagers, and my answer to that is, if you're a basketball player and you wanna. Wow.
Oh, dang.
Wow. Sorry. Furman just hit a 3, and Virginia's down 1 with
2.2 seconds.
That was crazy. That was actually crazy.
See, we told you at the beginning of the broadcast that it's going to happen.
Oh, man.
So let's try to finish this before that starts. So my answer to that is, if you are more concerned about other people within the gym than you are about yourself training, that's a big problem.
Absolutely.
Right? Because now you're not worried about getting better individually.
Yeah.
So, I want you to kind of expand on that, G, and then, we'll talk to Kris, because I'm sure she's been in the gym with younger people that, didn't affect her individually training.
I think the biggest thing to understand is, like, as a parent, I understand where that concern comes from. And I think that a lot of that comes from the idea of how, I guess the best way to describe it is how outside trainings are ran and how outside trainings operate. So a lot of times in those outside trainings or other trainings, those kids are getting into competition type things, right? So they may have to get into 5-on-5s or 1v1s or whatever the case may be. And that is fine, and I can understand why you wouldn't want your senior to be going against a 7th grader in that aspect.
Right.
But we're talking about skill development, and we're talking about individual skill training, where it's important for you to focus on your individual development. That's the first thing. The second part of it is, and we've said this before, in our training, we're teaching you how to train by yourself. We don't care who's next to you. We don't care who's, behind you. Can you learn what we're telling you? Can you take the instructions that we're giving you and apply them on your own?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a big thing, right? I think training versus working out.
Yes.
Right? So what you said, there's outside, we'll call it training, right? But it's really just a workout because you're getting a sweat, you're getting your, you're doing all of the things that you are pretty much good at.
Yeah.
And then you play.
Yep.
So training, you're learning, like you said. We're teaching you how to move. We're teaching you different techniques, teaching you footwork. So that's individual. You don't need a trainer to just. For me, I don't need a trainer to tell me or to do a drill for me that I'm already good at.
Yeah.
Or I don't need to pay someone to just rebound.
Yeah.
Right. I can get my brother, my sister, my dad, whatever it is.
Or I saw a video where a dog was actually rebounding.
That's tough.
You gotta get Apollo to do that.
But no, you're right on. And so Kris, I don't know your experiences with training, or what you can differentiate the training versus the working out. Maybe you can elaborate on some of your past experiences with that.
Yeah, so going back to also like who's in the gym with you, it really doesn't matter, because also say you're older, like your son or daughter's older, and you're in a gym with people that are younger. Those younger kids can look up to your daughter and son and really be like, oh, okay, they can do that. Let me see if I can end up doing that at some point. And it may advance their game, but them being in the gym does not hinder, like you said, their training experience or their working out experience, because I can promise you any good trainer would not put a 4th grader against a 9th grader. Like, that's definitely not going to happen.
And again, how are you going to improve, right? If a 4th grader is guarding you or you're guarding a 4th grader,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing. It's nice to have, and don't get me wrong, it's nice to train with people your same age or who's older than you, but it's nice because they can bring a different energy or different just vibe to the workout.
Yeah.
Now, if you only depend on those people, you as a player have to kind of look at yourself and try to find something that's going to bring up your energy or motivate you internally, right? So, like you said, if you're training with young, you yourself are in the gym and there's other younger kids there, you're there for one reason, right? To get better individually. Mm-hmm. So your energy should be through the roof. Yeah. And those younger players are going to see that, they're going to feel it, and they're going to vibe off of that, and they're going to start training at that level. Yeah. And that's where that self motivation, that self, determination and that energy can start instilling in themselves, right? So, I mean, have you ever been in a workout session with younger kids?
Oh, yeah, all the time. 100% I have. And it's like, for me, sometimes they'll even ask me questions like, how did you do that? Or like, can you help me figure this out? If like, say the trainer is, doing something else or focusing on another kid, like having older kids there actually benefits everyone that's in the gym. Mm-hmm. And like, to be honest, it feels good. Like, I don't know everything, but I'm like, heck yeah, I got these little kids looking up to me. Like, let me help them out. Yeah. So it's like, it does help out. And even like when playing up, like the circumstance I think for me was different because I'm just young for my grade and age. Like I'm finishing up my junior year of college and I'm 20 and I don't turn 21 until October. So like I've always played up like my whole basketball career, and it has benefited me for sure, but it's all based on the individual. Like not everybody that's going to play up is going to benefit from it, because they also may hate it and then they end up hating basketball, and then putting a 7th grader with a 9th grade team, they might hate it, and then you keep pushing that as a parent, and your kid's like, I don't want to play basketball anymore. Yeah. Like, I just want to have fun with my age for now until I really figure out this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Or like, for the time being that I can play basketball.
And that's the thing, right? So their 7th grader might not be as skilled as that parent thinks they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, of course I'm not going to have fun because, one, I'm not going to get trusted with the ball because I'm going to turn it over. I'm just going to freak out or panic. But at that point, you're playing 5-on-4. Yeah. Right? So, why would I want to play up? Yeah. Have you, Gia, in any of your sessions, have you seen any of your, maybe, a younger kid with an older kid, and have you seen, like, just lately in Hoop Lab? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your group classes and how that works out.
So, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple examples that I could give. I mean, we've had a parent come in and they were kind of again, on that same mindset that I needed my kid to be with older kids. Yeah. And it just so happened that the group that they were in, the younger kids that were in that group because they were so skilled. Right. Right. So in that specific instance, the younger kids were more skilled than the older kids. So there was a lot of takeaways that the older kid could use from those younger kids. The other instance that I can think of is we had a shout out to Mace. I had a training session where Mace was with some high school kids, and Mace was going through. Mace, for anybody that doesn't know, is one of the youngest kids that comes in here. He does a lot, and he's more advanced for his age level. But him being with those older kids, it did a couple things. One, I was able to give him the experience of knowing that the workout that he's doing is the same workout that those older kids are doing. Mm-hmm. Two, the same struggles that he's having are the same struggles that those older kids are having, and vice versa. And then three, understanding just like the way that you should approach your workouts. Right. So I was very intentional in showing Mace and even making sure that the other kids knew how to be leaders.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand that you're here for your workout, but leadership is a quality that's going to have to come to you at some point. So if you guys can lead this workout and help Mace, you're gaining a skill that is not intentional, on the board that we're going through in that workout. But Mace was also able to go through and say, hey, Mace, after you see a dude make a shot, tell him, good shot, bro. Go through those different things that aren't necessarily basketball skill oriented, but life oriented things. We've got a lot of that, the outside life stuff.
That's good.
That goes into that. But
and I, you touched on a big part is, it doesn't matter if you're a young kid like Mace or you're a middle schooler or a high schooler. Everyone thinks that the high college athletes that we train, the professionals that we train, they don't mess up.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's completely opposite.
Yeah.
I would say the college athletes and the pro players mess up more, right? Because they haven't had the experience or the time with the true skill and enhancement.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, I would put money on, a kid that's trained with us, for a year, 2 years, they are more skilled with what we do than the Division Ones, the pros, right? Because they have more time with it, but they actually understand and they can listen to the details, pay attention to the details, and then implement it on their own.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a huge one because everyone gets down on themselves because they miss a shot or they kick a cone on accident. It's just like, dude, it happens to everyone.
Yep.
And I know that's easy to say, but when you can actually see it for yourself, it's
yeah, no,
it's worth it.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. But man, Pertty 30.
Pertty 30. Kris, how was your first podcast experience? Well, not really your first, but
This
first
is technically
in person.
my second with you, yeah.
Yeah.
This
This
is
one's
live.
live.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, it's your third.
It's my third, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Been around a while.
Yeah.
Awkward.
The first one never came out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. So 1 unpublished and then 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still have that.
Oh,
I
really?
should put it out.
No,
one
you
day.
really shouldn't. I don't even remember what that one was about, so let's not put that one out.
Oh,
But
man.
it was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
No, thank you for your insight.
Absolutely.
It's very, very, beneficial for all the listeners, especially all the parents that have one way of thinking.
Yep.
And thank you for being on.
Yep.
For sure.
So we're going to teach you this part,
Oh,
right?
goodness gracious.
Oh yeah.
I'm scared.
So first, kind of just like look off, like there's
like
something.
nothing's
Okay.
going on.
And then I forgot to mention something. There was one thing, and that was what happened to Peace.
Yep. And then we kind of look at each other and kind of like pause maybe like 2 seconds, and then we'd be like like that, right?
Peace.
So
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
so we're gonna
At first I
pretend-
thought you said peas, like the vegetable, and I was like, what happened?
no,
I
no.
had a lot to process there real quick.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
That's
it.
my Michigan accent.
Yeah. So we're gonna put it into action, right? We're gonna
Okay, so look around,
look around, everything
okay.
going on, and then
So yeah, and there was one thing I forgot to mention, and that was what happened to Peace.
peace.
Hey.
Yay! Way to go, Kris.
Yes, let's go.
Peace Idler. Why does everyone call us nerds? Are we nerds? Oh man, we're nerds.